Welcome to another in the series, Sip and Chat, a place where we talk about the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. It's our pleasure this afternoon to be coming into your homes and to be talking about the goodness of the Lord. Welcome to another in the series, Sip and Chat, a place where we examine life issues. How do we overcome the hurdles that present themselves? How is it that amidst everything we can still have hope in the society? So today I have with us one of Jamaica's brightest, I would say, in his own right, a very, very accomplished young man by the name of Mr. Odane Brooks. And it is indeed such a pleasure, Odane, to have you on the program. I am so elated to have finally caught up with you so that Jamaica can hear who is this, effervescent, accomplished young man. So welcome, Odane.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is indeed our pleasure here at Sip and Chat. Now, Odane is a young man who, in his short time here on planet Earth, has accomplished quite a lot indeed. He is now one of the policy and research officers at the People's Cooperatives and Friendly Societies Department. Right, and he's also a GG, I believe, ambassador, and he's also a Christian. But there are so many things that he has accomplished in his time. So I'm going to give you the privilege, Odane, just to introduce yourself to Jamaica. So when they're following your trajectory, they can say, I know this young man. Tell us who exactly is Odane.
Thank you again for having me. My name is Odane Brooks. I am a self-grown St. Elizabeth resident. I am a public policy specialist. As you would have mentioned, I'm currently at the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies. So as a young Jamaican male growing up, it is stereotypical that society frames the narrative around males within the society. And as a progressive young man, I would have set out early on a path to not only self actualize, but also to develop other young people that I'm able to come in contact with. And so my trajectory to date has reflected that passion for youth development as well as national development. And I believe that I am really positioned to become a leading voice in Jamaica and in the Caribbean, if I may say, on public policy issues and how we can advance solutions to develop the Caribbean as a first rated region.
Why, excellent. I told you he was very, very, very intellectual, intelligent. He have it all together. He sounds so much like a seasoned economist and policy researcher. But excellent, Odane. But speak to us about what do you think has brought you to this level of consciousness? You self-actualize. Talk to us a little bit about how did you reach that stage, to be here where you are today, that journey.
I believe I must credit it to my upbringing. I must commend my parents who are very strong on education and the power that education has to propel you to heights that you might not have imagined. And so
So let me pause right there. So you are one of those firm believers that education is a doorway, so to speak, to bigger and better.
Absolutely.
And so therefore children should not be deprived of education. And Odane, I just want to stop there for a minute because sometimes we will hear parents say, boy, if he's not going to go to school today, he's going to do something else. But I'm hearing you saying that we have to manage that process because this can be the gateway to your brighter tomorrow as well as to your child's tomorrow.
Absolutely. I believe that education is an equalizer. And what it does is that it allows persons who comes from a disadvantaged background to be able to compete with anyone, irrespective of their background. So I believe that once you have education as that propelling force, it puts you in a position to compete with anybody locally, globally, internationally. And so I believe that education is the passport that remains the reliable source for most, if not all, Jamaicans at this point.
Wow, wow, wow. Indeed, indeed. And so what we're saying is that as we see young people even in this pandemic and where education has been so severely affected, we're still touting that people need to regroup. really regroup and see how best they can fill those gaps. Because at the end of the day, the world didn't stop because of the pandemic. Education didn't stop in terms of learning because of the pandemic. And so, what is important is that we appreciate, first of all, the role of education in advancing, advancing you socially, economically, and even politically, because
Absolutely.
it puts you in a seat of recognition and make your voice be heard. But I heard you speaking from a very wide perspective, or you want to influence national policies and also international policies. But talk to us a little bit about that and where exactly would be your area of interest in terms of which policies you see that you'd want to pay more attention to.
Okay, I believe that a significant challenge that we have in Jamaica is social inclusion. We have made major strides on the economic front, but if we should look at the distribution of those economic gains, it reflects some amount of inequality within the society. And I believe that my focus will be on how do we develop public policies that can bridge that gap that exists in terms of equity, and how government can strategically align public policy to achieve greater social inclusion within the society. So as a public policy professional, my trajectory to date has been to go into various areas so that I can see how to build social capital as well as to build social inclusion, because I don't think that if we're growing at a rate of 10% per year in GDP and it is not equitably distributed among the masses, then I don't believe that it is a milestone to be celebrated.
You're right on the money. Well, Odane, in speaking to you, I hear so much coming forth as it relates to academia and stuff like that. And one of the things that has probably held back Christians, which you're a Christian as well, and I want that to be very clear, is that one of the things that has held back a lot of persons sometimes is that they oftentimes see education as a as, as a thing that will probably detract you from the calling of God on your life. And what we don't understand is that if as believers we don't find ourselves in the seat of power to influence policies, then what we get we will have to take. Absolutely. Because it is the voice. If we are believers and we're echoing the voice of reason and consciousness, then we need to find ourselves in those spaces. So I want you to speak to us today, to young Christians and also people in general, for them to appreciate that as Christians, we want to become the lawyers, we want to become politicians. We can't curse the politicians if they do what they do. They might not be believers, they might have a different mantra. So believers with the kind of values that they would want need to penetrate the spaces. And I'm not saying all believers are perfect by any chance, but we need to have more of those kinds of values and attitudes. Talk to us about that.
That's a pretty good question, because I think one of the things that is lacking from leadership at various levels in the society is leaders with integrity. And I believe that Christian values, once you're equipped with those values, it puts you in a position where your value system, your moral compass is such that you remain true to the cause, you remain true to the people that you set out to represent. And so I believe that we should not become dejected based on our religious beliefs. We should see it as an opportunity to offer ourselves for service, because we have to take up space. We cannot allow, absolutely, we cannot allow those individuals with immoralities, with value systems that are contrary to what society upholds to take up the spaces. We have to occupy those spaces.
That's so important, because it is at the end of the day, it is a kind of morals and values that you have that will infuse the policies that you make. So if we continue to say that Christians should know themselves and know their corners and don't find themselves in these public spaces, then at the end of the day, when policies are made that are devoid of what we call values and proper virtues and stuff like that, then we are the ones to be blamed. So we are advocates for education. Students should go to school, study, become the best that they can be, find them spaces in the boardroom, find themselves in the courthouse, find themselves in the banking hall, and they can still remain Christians. I had an encounter with a very prominent Christian lawyer, And she said, as a lawyer, she's now retired. There was never a day. She said she had one encounter when somebody tried to allow, suggest to her what she could do, which that would have been a compromise. But she said, oh no, if God has seen me to this far, He will see me further. So it is important for us to understand that as Christians, we need to occupy until He comes, not just be in church every day, but occupy in society. Or then when one thinks about success, sometimes they feel that, boy, oh, Dane is lucky. He must have been born on the right side of the fence, and his parents must have had a lot of money and stuff like that. But talk to us about your own humble upbringings and how life has just been. When he presented you lemons, you decided you would make lemonade.
Thank you so much for that question. As I alluded to earlier, education was always an important thing for my parents. And why it was important for them is because they weren't benefactors of a good education. And so they would understand the plight that is to go through without having that education. And so what they have done is to position us on a path where they ensure that our education it comes 1st. And so throughout my journey as a young adult, my parents, through various struggles, would have ensured that they put their hands to the wheel and they endeavor to ensure that we were not in need. That doesn't mean that it was all easy.
Right, and it was always there either.
Exactly. It was never easy, but they were creative individuals. They are very innovative. And so they always find means within the law, of course,
Right,
to
right.
ensure that all our needs, especially our educational needs, were satisfied.
Right. Boy, that is really, really encouraging. So, sometimes we think that because somebody has now reached that particular stage in their career or whatever it is, their life goal, that is because they got some bag of gold or something. That's not always the case. Sometimes they really have a story that was, you're not going to make it. You'll never become anything good, or just some situation where it was frustrating, but there was a commitment to say, listen, I am going to be the best that I can be. And regardless of the struggles that I have, I'm going to pursue excellence. And that is what I think has been one of your things again. So talk to us now. I mean, when we think about young people and other persons are now studying for exams, they might have their own challenges. COVID has presented its own challenges. Talk to young people today about how to remain very steadfast, because you're pretty young. You have already done your first degree, your second degree, and getting ready to pursue your doctorate. In terms of, we talked a lot about this on our way here. Just deciding where exactly they want the focus to be. So just talk to some young people, especially young men, because that's my passion, who are out there today and say, boy, is it worth dreaming? Is it, this goal that I have in my head, is it even worth thinking about? Talk to us.
I would want to say to young men specifically that the society has all of the preconditions to become a delinquent. And it is a sad
No, that is
reality.
that you have to say that again, because somebody needs to understand that, listen, the way the system is set,
Yes,
the way the system is structured, it's almost as if it is designed to keep one set of persons down and propel one to the next level.
absolutely. So the preconditions are there. If your environment is not one that builds resilience, you will cave into what the conditions are. So what I would advise young men to do is to surround themselves with mentors who can guide them, who can provide them with mentorship to be able to put them on a path that can accelerate their personal growth. Challenges will come along the way, but as young men, we should not allow those challenges to define us because we rise above challenges. And so, what I would advise young men to do is to reach out if they feel lost, if they feel that there is they don't have a purpose, because it starts with finding your purpose. Because once you find that purpose, struggles will come, but that focus on your purpose will keep you steadfast. So I would say to them, find a mentor and ensure that you're able to go on a path that can accelerate your own growth and development.
Yeah, This is so important because last week, one of the things that we spoke about was the whole matter of networking. And we did say that one of the benefits of networking is aligning yourself with persons who can understand your dream. And even though your hands might not be strong enough to swim to that next shore level or so on, they're able to take you along with them until you're able to do the best that you can be. So, and I'm hearing you utter the same sentiment that as young people, while they're listening, even adults as well, because I'm an advocate that listen, as long as there's life, there is hope. Some people, I share this with you, and I want to share this with all of our viewers this week. I heard something, it was going around for on the different some of the platforms, and it's reference to this gentleman was speaking about the whole matter of when you put popcorn into the microwave, you put this popcorn in there, which are some seeds, right? And interestingly, all of the popcorn doesn't pop at once, right? But eventually, most of them will pop at different intervals. So, you're there and you put in these corns, and then over time, they begin to pop and morph now from these hard kernels into fluffy white, edible, edible thing. And, the moral of it was that, let me say this, we don't all pop at one time. Some of us will pop early and some will pop late. But the reality is that we can all pop. And what we have to do is, like you said, is have the situativeness, the stamina, the determination to say, listen, I heard a pop over there, that wasn't me, but I'm determined to pop as well. And you continue just being resilient. When we think about a sea, there's always this, in the sea, there is the tides that are so turbulent, but the tides can come so far and no more, right? The sand is like a boundary. So yes, challenges will come, but if you have your dreams, yes, your dreams maybe get tattered like a raisin in the sun, they dry sometimes and so on. But you must just be determined that comes what may, you're going to accomplish. Odane, talk to us. Was there a moment in your own young life here on planet Earth that you said to yourself, boy, I'm not gonna make it, or my dream is not? Was there ever that moment in your thought?
I would not say I can recall such a moment, not because I might not have had challenges, but I believe that my fervent belief in Almighty God, as well as my fervent belief in my own ability, because I think that God has given me the capacity to rise above the challenges that I might be going through. So I would have experienced several challenges, but I don't think I would have had a defeatist mentality where I would be saying, I will not overcome. I recognize the challenges, I recognize the setbacks, but I always say that these setbacks are setbacks that will propel me to something even greater. So I'm not one to belabor challenges. I am one to see the opportunities for innovation, opportunities to rise above those challenges.
Excellent. And as you're saying that, like when you have failures, you rise above them. There's a quote that I recall that says, failure is one of the condiments of success. So part of success is also the whole matter of failure. And it's from failure that we build strength and muscles to rise above that which might confront us as individuals. So it's nothing new. Challenges is nothing new. I say it on this program ever so often that for every person who has been successful, they can tell you one of those stories or one of those nights when it seems that this was it and everything was about to cave in. But we have to learn to pursue success, pursue happiness, and as we pursue those things, remain in the realm of knowing that he that hath begun a good work in us is able to see it unto completion. I heard somebody said the other day, they were saying that as Christians, why is it that we have challenges, why we have the challenges that we have? I mean, it was just this healthy discussion with some young people, and I'll say this to you: if you're not ready to have discussions, don't engage young people because you might turn out to look like you're not saved.
Oh, yes.
Meaning that they're going to ask you the hard questions. They're going to come to you with a question that says, okay, if you believe in Jesus, how come this is happening to you, and how come you're not further in life? But one thing we're sure about is that there are some promises that God makes to us. And one of those promises is that he promises never to leave us nor forsake us. In other words, he knew that we were going to encounter challenges. He knew that there would be hard times, but we can be guaranteed that he is not going to leave us. So even in our moments, whether it be academia, whether it be family, whether it be whatever it is, we are going to encounter those moments, but we can be confident that he's not going to leave us. So, as in terms of engagement, what are some of the? I know you're very deep in your academia, but what else do you do? I know you're also a Christian, as we said earlier. But so talk to us about being balanced as a person. You know, in terms of your Christian life, your academic life, your social life. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So, as I would have alluded to, I'm one who is strong on youth development and public service. And so I would have committed myself to offering service to various organizations. So currently, I am the Youth Initiative Coordinator for Advocate for Change Jamaica. This is an organization that focuses on the issue of father absenteeism in Jamaica. Because we talk a lot about empowerment of women, and we are all supportive of that. But I believe over time we have overlooked the growing issue of father absenteeism. So this group focuses on that heavily. I am also a part of Youth Education Association, and this organization focuses on championing education for the less fortunate, the dispossessed. And this organization seeks to provide mentorship and guidance to young people because we firmly believe in the power of education. Also, as you would have made mention, GG, I believe, ambassador. And this program is one where that is managed by the Governor General. And the mantra of the program is to identify young people who are striving in their community and who can become inspiration and motivation to other young people. And I'm also engaged in several other things. Maybe time would not permit us
A
to discuss.
young man.
Would not permit to discuss. But I think with all of this, what it has taught me is that life is about finding balance. And so you ensure that you satisfy your spiritual life. You also ensure that your professional life grows. But I believe that
So there must be a balance as an individual between your spiritual life as well as your professional life, because your body, soul, and spirit. So everything needs to be nurtured and nourished so that they can blossom and grow.
Absolutely. I think once everything comes into unison, it creates an individual who is unstoppable.
Unstoppable. Yes, you know. Once I remember somebody had a mantra, educate Jesus plus education can hold it. You know what I'm saying? It's just unstoppable, as you rightfully say. I'm very intrigued though about your involvement in this organization that speaks to the whole empowering of the father and you know examining the whole issue of the absenteeism. And do you think that you know we speak about it, but what really is just you know in brief, could you just say how significant the absenteeism you know has really impacted, or how impactful has the absenteeism been on our society?
It has been it has been very impactful because the role of a father cannot be replaced. And I think what we're finding is that a lot of the social challenges that we're facing as a society, it is a direct reflection of broken families, broken homes. And once uh, that micro level is not addressed, what we find is that the society cannot address some of the wider scale issues that we face. So once we're able to address those issues at the family level, then we're in a better position to address crime. And I must say that based on the work that we have been doing, we're recognizing that a, a significant number of young males are fathers, and they are most exposed to becoming absentee fathers. So I believe that government has to align policies to ensure that those young men are actually mentored and they're provided with that development to guide them on a path to remain in their child or children's life. So I think that all hope is not lost, but we have to uh, apply ourselves to actually addressing the issue of father absenteeism.
Very, very important. And that is something that even as a church that we're very concerned about, because we see the manifestation of the absenteeism in the home. And one of the things, I've also done some work with teenagers, and when you speak to them as it relates to gangs, what persons don't recognize is that one of the things that pulls young men to gang is the whole matter of the affirmation. You know, you go into this and you're being seen as, yeah man, my youth, and you're applauded and you're patted on the shoulder. And when you do your deeds, you are recognized for your deeds, and you're compensated for your deeds. So we have to look at the whole dynamics of how we treat our young boys and not take them for granted. And so that is why today I thought it was so important to have you on the program to help persons understand that amidst all that is challenging and what we say negative in Jamaica, we also have a number of outstanding young men, Christian young men, who are achieving and continues to do very, very well while balancing church and their professional life. And that is what we want, because if they don't occupy the spaces, someone else will. And when some other persons do, we might not be happy with results. As we wrap up today, I want to just say something to our audience about just how important it is to remember that we must remain steadfast in our pursuit of excellence and in our pursuit of what is good.
Thank you again, Ms. Tomlinson, for having me. It was a great pleasure. I would say to the audience that challenges will come, but I believe it is the stick-to-itiveness, it is the determination that we have that will determine our ultimate success. So what I would say is not to allow anything to stop us from walking into our purpose. We have it within us. We were all born different, but we have something that makes us one who can strive above any hurdle. And so I believe that we should find our purpose and become the great human being we're destined to be.
Thank you so very much, Odane. Greatness lies within all of us. Sometimes that greatness lies deep within, but it's still within. So until you have attained, don't stop pushing, because success could just be a step away. Until next time, let's continue to sip and chat.